Hi guys, today I will be sharing a very delicious cake called Nutty Cake. For the ingredients, we need 4 tablespoons of fresh milk, 1/3 cup of oil, 3/4 cup of sour cream, or if you don't have sour cream, you can use yogurt, half a cup of walnuts that we will crush, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 1 and 1/3 cup of sugar, 2.5 cups of cake flour, 4 eggs that is separated, the egg yolks and the egg whites. So we're gonna combine the cake flour, the baking powder, the salt. Give this a quick mix. If you want at this point, you can sift this, but whisking it is fine. Then add the crushed walnuts. I use the food processor to do this process, but you can use the knife to chop the walnuts into small pieces. Now with the sugar, we're just gonna get half a cup. We're gonna use the half a cup for the meringue. Set that aside. Now combine the sugar and the egg yolks. Using a whisk, mix this thoroughly. Add the vanilla and continue mixing this for about 2 minutes. After about 2 minutes, we can add the sour cream. Again, if you can't find sour cream, you can use plain yogurt. By the way, your oven should be preheated at 180 degrees Celsius. Now add the oil. Then the 4 tablespoons of fresh milk. Next step is add the flour mixture all at once. At this point, the butter will be very thick. I'm using the folding method to mix the ingredients. We will set this aside and we're gonna move on to the egg whites. So with the egg whites, we're gonna beat this using an electric mixer. Once it is frothy, we can start adding the sugar gradually. This is the half a cup of sugar that we set aside before. So once the sugar is all in, continue beating until we reach the stiff thick stage, just like this. Now we're gonna combine the meringue with the batter in 3 additions using the folding method. And this is the last addition of the meringue. So mix this gently and do not overmix. Now we're gonna transfer this into a prepared 8x3 round cake pan that is lined with parchment at the bottom, but I did not grease the side. So we're gonna bake this in a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius for about 30 to 35 minutes, or until when you insert a skewer in the middle and the skewer comes out clean. And this is what it looks like after baking. Let it cool down completely before taking out of the bake pan. For the icing, we're gonna use 2 condensed milk, 1 cup of crushed walnuts, 1 tablespoon of butter, 200 ml of cream, and 2 tablespoons of Dutch processed cocoa powder. So in a saucepan, we're gonna combine the 2 condensed milk, which is 395 grams each. Add the 1 tablespoon of butter, and we're gonna cook this using medium heat. Add the walnuts as well, and you have to continuously mix this until the condensed milk thickens up, and it starts coating the bottom of the pan, which I will show you later. So this is now ready. At this point, we're gonna add the cream. I'm using whipping cream or thickened cream that is 35% milk fat. Then we're gonna continuously mix this again until it thickens up a bit for about 4 to 5 minutes. At this point, this is ready. We're gonna divide the mixture into two. We'll get 1/3 of the mixture into a separate bowl. And with the rest of the condensed milk icing, we're gonna put the chocolate or the cocoa powder. We're gonna have 2 parts of the cocoa powder and 1 part of the white, which you'll see later why. So we will set this aside to thicken up. To make the sugar syrup, this is 1/2 cup of water, then 1/2 cup of sugar. We're gonna cook this in the microwave for 2 minutes. First at 1 minute, stop, then stir it, and then put it back in the microwave. Or you can boil this instead. This is the simple sugar syrup. We're now ready to assemble the cake. So I'm just cutting the dome part of the cake. And then I'm gonna cut this into 2. So we're gonna have 4 layers. So now we're ready to assemble the cake. I'm using a cake ring, but if you don't have a cake ring, you can use the baking pan that you use. Just line it up with cling wrap. So I'm just using a brush to put my simple sugar syrup to the cake. And then I'm gonna add 1/2 of the chocolate icing. Spread it evenly. Now add the second layer. Again, use the brush to put a little bit of the simple sugar syrup. Now we're adding the white icing. Again, spread this evenly. And put the third layer. Again, apply the syrup, then the last part of the cream. Spread the cream evenly again. And finally, add the last cake. Apply the syrup again. And then we will cover this with cling wrap. And then let this rest in the fridge for about an hour. For the meringue, I need 1/2 teaspoon of cream of tartar, 100 ml of water, 300 grams of sugar, and 150 grams of egg whites. We also need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So we're gonna combine the water and the sugar. Give it a mix. And then once it hits the stove, we're just gonna let this boil without stirring. We need to boil this until it reaches 120 degrees Celsius. While the sugar is cooking, we're gonna let the egg whites whisk slowly at the start. Add the cream of tartar. So once the sugar syrup reach 120 degrees Celsius, we're gonna immediately add this to the egg whites. Using medium speed at the start, you don't want the hot syrup splashing around. It might burn you, so be careful doing this step. So once the sugar syrup is all in, we're gonna put the speed of the mixer into high, and we're gonna continue whisking this until it reaches tip-peak stage and it's glossy. Add the vanilla as well, and this is what we're looking for. The meringue is able to hold its shape. Now we're ready to put the icing onto the cake. Ideally, adding parchment paper on the side of the cake ring will make taking out the cake easier, but I forgot to do that. So now we're ready to ice the cake. So add a big blob of the meringue icing on top and let the excess fall off the side. Icing this cake doesn't need to be perfect. And now I'm just using the spatula to create some waves on the icing. I want it to look like homemade. To caramelize the meringue, I'm using a blowtorch, but this is optional. If you don't have a blowtorch, you can try using the oven at 200 degrees Celsius for about 5 minutes. But keep an eye on it because meringue easily burns. And now once you've done this process, with the excess icing, we will put decoration on the top, just like so. And then add walnuts on top. Anyway, the decoration depends on how you want it. And this is the finished product. This is quite fiddly to make, but it's totally worth it. I can guarantee that you're gonna love this. Something unique and special. And just to show you what it looks like inside when you cut or slice the cake. This is so good. I can guarantee that you're gonna love this. Please excuse my hand. I've got icing all over it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next week. Bye!